So who's debating this one? 10. Number 10. Okay? So this is a disagree question. When you're stuck in a disagree question, what's one thing that you can do?
Ask whether one would say yes, one would say no.
Yes, just focus in on one person at a time, right? Mm-hmm. So here, Yolanda, by the way, this is a very common name on the LSAT. So is what? No. Oh, okay. I don't know why.
Yeah, they love it. I feel like Acme low-key sponsors the test or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what their obsessions are or why, but okay. So which answers were you debating?
I was debating C and D.
C and D. So let's take a look at E. Okay. So C, a scientific discipline can rely on subjective reports. What does Vincent think?
No.
No, since happiness is an entirely subjective experience, it cannot be measured and therefore cannot be something that a scientific discipline can study, right? Yeah. So Vincent would say no. Yolanda would say what?
Yes.
Yes.
Why?
Well, it's really no.
Because optometry is a scientific discipline.
Yeah,
because happiness research relies on
optometry is a scientific discipline, and what do? They rely
people's subjective reports on what
on the subject's reports, which are on how they feel. Or actually, sorry, that's happiness. On what they see, which is presumably subjective. It's what they see as opposed to what other people see. So I would definitely keep that one open because it seems like one person is saying no, the other person is saying yes, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so D, happiness research is as much a scientific discipline as optometry is. They're the same. They're on the same level. What does Yolanda think?
Yes.
Why do you say yes?
That's where they drew the analogy. So when I was doing the test, I thought yes. But
well, it says just as optometry relies on patients' reports of what they see, happiness research relies on subjects' reports. So that is one thing that is similar, right? Mm-hmm. And it says surely optometry is a scientific discipline. So Yolanda thinks that happiness research is a scientific discipline, but is it as much a scientific discipline as optometry is?
Okay, good point.
I don't know if that's like a comparison that we just never made.
Okay.
Also, one thing about this, what does Vincent think of optometry?
We don't really know.
We don't know at all, right? Because optometry is not discussed. So if we don't know what Vincent thinks, it can't be the answer. E, experiences that cannot be measured are entirely subjective experiences. Ooh. If you go back to Vincent's argument, Vincent says, since happiness is an entirely subjective experience, it cannot be measured. So Vincent is saying because it's entirely subjective, it cannot be measured. In other words, if something is entirely subjective, then it cannot be measured, not if it cannot be measured, then it's subjective. It's flipped. Yeah. So because it's flipped, answer choice E is not even something we know what Vincent thinks of. We know Vincent thinks it in the other direction, but we don't know if Vincent agrees or disagrees with E in this direction. So since we don't even know what Vincent thinks, it doesn't matter what Yolanda thinks. Sound good? Mm. All right, so it is C. That's the best answer.
Well, I did not see A, B, D, or E really being it, but I still didn't see why C just still had, for me, it just had.
Well, we're looking for the one in which it's most likely that one agrees and the other disagrees.
Okay.
And so
this is the best one.
This is the best one. So like there's some evidence that Vincent would think that a scientific discipline cannot rely on subjective reports. Okay. Right? Because that's what Vincent seems to be arguing. And Yolanda does seem to think that a scientific discipline can rely on subjective reports because optometry relies on what people see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
this is the best one, but I was, for me having doubt, it made me then go back to the other ones that possibly.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking for the one that's most supported, right? It says Vincent and Yolanda's statements provide the most support for concluding that they disagree about which. And so we have some evidence against this for one of them and some evidence for this from the other person, so that's good. Now, if we had more evidence from one and the other for a different answer, then we'd want to go with that. But this is the one that has the most support, where one is saying no and the other person is saying yes. If we don't know what someone thinks of an answer, it's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was the problem with both D and E, because we had no idea what one person and the other person thought.